50 Cent just dropped a bombshell explaining exactly why Diddy's name was suspiciously absent from the Epstein files. Once you connect the dots, the hidden tapes and chilling testimonies finally start making terrifying sense. With his highly anticipated documentary on the horizon, 50 Cent is gearing up to expose some of Hollywood's most untouchable elites. Who was the true mastermind orchestrating the horrors on Epstein's private island? And what really went down behind closed doors? In this video, we dive deep into the names, the dark connections, and the real reason Diddy was seemingly scrubbed from the unredacted files.
One person who wasn't in the Epstein files was Diddy. And this person said the reason why Diddy wasn't in these files was because he was his competition. So I was like, man,
he was whose competition?
Epstein.
Oh,
Diddy was Epstein's competition.
No way.
Diddy wasn't at none of the Epstein parties or at the island.
That's crazy.
Just a week ago, the Department of Justice unleashed a massive trove of evidence. Over 3 million pages of records, roughly 2,000 videos, and a staggering 180,000 images tied to the Jeffrey Epstein investigations. While a significant portion remains heavily redacted, the unsealed files explicitly linked Epstein to some of the most powerful figures on the planet. Yet, one glaring omission left everyone stunned. Sean "Diddy" Combs. Arrested nearly a year ago, and harboring a reputation just as sinister as Epstein's, Diddy has faced over 100 lawsuits detailing crimes of horrifying magnitude. So, how is it logically possible that two of the world's most notorious predators had no overlapping ties? To understand just how bizarre this is, remember that Diddy's closest ally, Jay-Z, appears dozens of times within the Epstein files. Shockingly, one document even suggests Epstein was weaponizing Jay-Z's influence to manipulate the masses through the entertainment industry. That is merely one instance where Jay-Z's name surfaced. It is incredibly suspicious that Diddy's entire inner circle was regularly rubbing elbows with Epstein. Yet Diddy himself, the alleged architect behind some of the entertainment industry's darkest abuses, was conveniently absent. However, online sleuths and insider sources suggest a different reality. Diddy's name might simply be hiding behind the black ink of a redaction. Several files describe Jay-Z and Epstein meeting behind closed doors with an unidentified, redacted third party. The consistent length and placement of this blackout across multiple documents strongly imply it is the exact same individual. Connect the dots, and a chilling narrative takes shape. Consider this explosive 2009 tip sent directly to the FBI, which brazenly references Jay-Z, Harvey Weinstein, and Pusha T.
Now, this is a tip back in 2009 that was sent to the FBI that references Jay-Z, Harvey Weinstein, and Pusha T. It says, on July 10th of 2019 at 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time, someone called the FBI National Threat Operations Center to identify herself as a victim of abuse by Jeffrey Epstein and others. This person said in approximately 1994, she revealed herself as a past victim of abuse by Epstein. She described the abuse that occurred during parties, and she also described someone as a friend of someone. In approximately 1996, she revealed that she resided with someone somewhere. An unknown man abducted someone from her home when she later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, known as Jay-Z. This person claimed that Harvey Weinstein inserted his fingers into... She believed that she was in Epstein's mansion in Florida. This person estimated that she was abducted on 7 occasions, awaking each time in an indoor setting. She said that she suffered abuse on multiple of those occasions in which Epstein participated. She claims that she recalled Leon Black and William Barr, the current United States Attorney General, being present during some of the occasions of the abuse.
50 Cent wasted no time reacting to Jay-Z's inclusion in the files, immediately teasing that a documentary exposing the whole ordeal is in the works. Rewind just a few weeks, and 50 Cent had already announced part 2 of his Diddy docuseries, promising to unmask even more elite enablers, using over 300 hours of unreleased damning footage. It is highly probable that 50's upcoming project will lay bare the exact undeniable links connecting Jay-Z, Diddy, and Jeffrey Epstein. It defies logic to believe that Diddy and Epstein were maneuvering through the exact same exclusive circles, hosting the exact same powerful guests, yet somehow never crossed paths.
You know 50 Cent was somewhere stretching his fingers like, another post. 50 probably woke up, saw the headlines and said, God is good. 50 Cent jumped on Instagram and posted the article on his page and wrote the caption, I know I'm late on this, but this is kinda crazy. What do you do to get thrown into that mix? And he posted a picture of Jay-Z and wrote the caption, damn, they got my man Jay in the Epstein files. I gotta do a doc on this. Bro, don't tell me you about to do a Jay-Z documentary that's gonna be even more spicier than the Diddy one you dropped. Now, we all know that 50 lives for moments like this. This is like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and tax season combined in one. 50 don't even need facts. He needs content.
The parallels between Diddy and Epstein are far more disturbing than anyone realizes, leading many to speculate that both men were operating as high-level intelligence assets for foreign governments. It is entirely plausible they were collaborating, and the only reason Epstein kept Diddy's name out of his infamous Black Book was a mutual code of silence to protect a fellow operative. Even Suge Knight previously alleged that Diddy was a federal informant. This deeply rooted paranoia perfectly explains why Diddy's sprawling mansions were wired with military-grade surveillance. One viral tweet analyzing the hidden cameras at Diddy's estate perfectly captured the terrifying reality. And guess who else rigged his properties with covert surveillance? Jeffrey Epstein. Footage unearthed from the Epstein files reveals hidden cameras strategically embedded throughout his residences and offices to secretly record his high-profile guests. Multiple victims have provided harrowing testimonies confirming they were filmed, yet much like the infamous Diddy tapes, these recordings have mysteriously vanished from the public eye. Despite dozens of victims and accomplices swearing under oath that these tapes exist, government officials have consistently deflected or denied their presence. The overarching theory? This illicit footage was the ultimate blackmail currency.
Jeffrey Epstein's victims have long said they believe they were being filmed by the ex-offender. And this footage from a spy cam style camera inside Epstein's Palm Beach house appears to show just that. The footage has been obtained for the first time by Channel 4 News. Because the quality is so grainy, during our investigation we analysed it frame by frame, and we've slowed it down here so that you can see what's happening. A man, likely Epstein himself, at one point looks towards the hidden device. Images of what seems to be his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as what appears to be several women or girls. So how do we know what this is and where it comes from? Epstein's Palm Beach property was raided by law enforcement in 2005, where police filmed this footage. Pause it here. You can see his office in the corner of the ground floor living area. This is the exact same office captured in the spy cam footage.
It is not a stretch to believe that Epstein and Diddy were jointly orchestrating a colossal global blackmail ring, coordinating their targets from behind the scenes. Just as the whispers surrounding Diddy circulated for decades before his downfall, Epstein's dark secrets were an open secret among the elite. Recently, Nicki Minaj set the internet ablaze, tweeting furiously about Epstein's deep-rooted ties to the entertainment industry and taking direct shots at Jay-Z, stating, in a follow-up post, she unveiled a horrifying glimpse into the alleged occult practices occurring behind Hollywood's glittering facade. Nicki didn't hold back, writing, your favorite artist has been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take babies from other countries and mutilate them as a form of blood sacrifice to their god. You see, when your master is Satan, you must constantly shed blood.
Here's what Nicki Minaj had to say. She wrote, your favorite artist has been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take babies from other countries and mutilate them as a form of blood sacrifice to their god. You see, when your master is Satan, you must constantly shed blood. However, the jig is up. And yeah, she's not the first person in Hollywood to say that. I just don't know how much could be in our face anymore before we wake up and realize these people are ruling over us and they win when we're fighting with each other. That's just the reality. I really don't see how you can have a ton of success in Hollywood and not be in the club, because Hollywood was founded upon this. I just don't really care what you call me. It's time for everyone to wake up.
The most frustrating aspect of this scandal is that Jay-Z's alleged involvement has been heavily rumored for years, yet he has faced zero consequences. Years before these files were ever unsealed, Kanye West explicitly named and implicated both Jay-Z and Pusha T in a series of explosive rants.
People like Jay-Z and Pusha T, they They made their living killing our people. So how the fuck they gonna stand up for our people? You know what I'm saying? But we forget that because we love Jay-Z's music so much. We love pushing music so much, right? But you think they would ever, Beyonce had the best fit for somebody else?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You think they would ever tell the truth? No, if they told the truth, they'd go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So you have liars.
Man.
Liars are now the face of our culture.
But Jay-Z is merely the tip of a colossal, sinister iceberg. Scanning the newly unsealed Epstein logs reveals a staggering network of billionaires, titans of industry, and high-ranking government officials who were all deeply entangled in this web. The corruption wasn't confined to American soil either. The British royal family's involvement is far more extensive than previously admitted, with Prince Andrew once again front and center in the latest damning releases.
Let's bring in writer and broadcaster Esther Krakow joining us from the UK. Esther, this is a shocker. He is a disgrace. What more can the royal family do? They obviously want him to hide from public sight forever.
Yeah, I think the latest basically series of the Jeffrey Epstein files is kind of what pushed the king over the edge. And I'm sure he's kind of slowly losing his mind because they wish the scandal would go away. But obviously the complete lack of judgment by the Yorkses, so Sarah Ferguson and the prince formerly known as Andrew, has just kind of made this much worse. I mean, I would say this latest entrancement has shown actually the greed of Sarah Ferguson. But on Prince Andrew, there was a picture that is now circulating of him on all fours hovering over a woman that we don't know, that is not moving. And obviously this doesn't necessarily suggest any wrongdoing, but it just shows the kind of the degree of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And I think the real scandal that people just can't get over is the fact that he actually repeatedly denied having any sort of contact with Jeffrey Epstein after his conviction for pedophilia and and that's clearly proven to be false. Even Sarah Ferguson, in an email exchange a couple of years, I believe, after he was convicted, said that she wanted to be his pet. So clearly this is not someone who had disavowed this man until they actually had a public falling out, I think in 2011, where they severed the ties completely.
See, some of these Sarah Ferguson emails are pretty disturbing too. It seems that she's aware at least of the role of girls and beautiful women in all of this. She seems to be encouraging and even offering up people.
Before we uncover the remaining elite names, we must address the sheer depravity of the crimes detailed in these documents. While scouring the unredacted files, investigators uncovered horrific allegations that Epstein was essentially running a human breeding operation. A deeply disturbing 2002 diary entry penned by one of his victims claims she gave birth to a baby girl at just 16 or 17 years old. The woman alleged that Epstein was actively using victims to farm infants, forcing them into a brutal cycle of pregnancies, forced abortions, or having their newborns snatched away immediately after birth.
Jeffrey Epstein had a secret child who was taken from its teenage mother at birth. This according to newly unearthed documents from the investigation into Epstein's crimes. Buried in the latest batch of the Epstein files are claims that Epstein fathered multiple children, including one by a teenager. In an anonymous diary entry, a woman describes how at 16 or 17 years old, she gave birth to a baby who was taken away from her just moments after delivery. Included is a copy of a pregnancy scan dated to 20 weeks gestation. She alleges Ghislaine Maxwell supervised the birth and writes that Epstein told her he wanted to create a superior gene pool. The diary was shared by the woman's lawyers, with federal prosecutors investigating Epstein and Maxwell. The Times was able to confirm the woman's real name, but has chosen to protect her identity. I was not able to verify the woman's claims, and if true, what happened to the newborn. It's never been publicly confirmed that Epstein fathered any children, and there's no mention of any offspring in a will he drew up in the years before his 2019 death in a New York prison cell. But several names in the will have been redacted.
Astonishingly, this isn't the first time such nightmarish allegations have surfaced. Peeling back the layers of Epstein's rare past interviews reveals moments where he practically snitched on himself, casually alluding to these heinous acts. In a twisted display of arrogance, he supposedly justified his actions by claiming he financially compensated the mothers. The files keep the ultimate fate of these abducted infants heavily redacted. But given the unfathomable depths of Epstein's depravity, the possibilities are too grotesque to dwell upon. One irrefutable fact remains: Epstein was a master trafficker. Facing immense pressure right before his untimely and highly suspicious death, he had allegedly prepared to detonate his secrets and expose every single accomplice in his network.
Appears to be some of those videos in these latest releases, and we can play a couple of minutes of that now, in which Epstein discusses being a sex offender.
Is your money dirty money?
If you live,
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not. So, in fact,
why is it not dirty money?
Because I earned it.
But you earned it. We went back to this before. You earned
Yes.
it. You earned it advising the worst people in the world, right? That do enormous bad things, and just to make more money.
So, instead of asking me the question, should you take the money? Because I think it's a legitimate question.
You think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no question. Because I think ethics is always a complicated subject, but I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India, instead of asking me whether that money should be given to these children for vaccines, I think you might want to ask their mothers who received the vaccine, who know their child now won't get polio, and ask them if Epstein should have helped these people.
Now that we grasp the pure evil of Epstein's syndicate, let's pivot to the next heavyweight making monumental waves in the document dump. Bill Gates. 2 highly explosive emails from August 18, 2013, were unsealed in the latest release. One email, reportedly structured as a resignation letter from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, allegedly voices complaints about procuring medical treatments for Gates following liaisons with Russian girls. Further insider leaks suggest Gates routinely relied on Epstein to source young women, a scandalous revelation that was reportedly a primary catalyst for Melinda Gates filing for divorce.
Here's Bill Gates responding. Go ahead, Rob.
To a lot of very rich people, and he was saying he could get them to give money to global health. You know, in retrospect, that was a dead end, and I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
You've no doubt seen the allegations, including some of them from the last 24 to 48 hours. Are they true?
No, apparently Jeffrey wrote an email to himself.
Draft.
That email was never sent. The email is, false. So I don't know what his thinking was there. It just reminds me, every minute I spent with him, I regret and I, apologize that I did that.
The problem is some of the things that he has sent and some of the information about other people that has come up in those files has been true. Why would he do this and say this about you, do you think?
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
Disgustingly, top-tier U.S. government officials were deeply entangled in this mess as well. In a twist that defies belief, some powerful figures even brought their own children to meet Epstein. U.S. Commerce Department Secretary Howard Lutnick allegedly brought his family to Epstein's private island in 2012. Emails unearthed in the latest drop directly contradict Lutnick's prior claims that he had severed all ties with the disgraced financier years earlier. In a message dated December 2012, Lutnick's wife, Allison, enthusiastically wrote to Epstein's assistant, "We are looking forward to visiting you, and we would love to join you for lunch." During a heated congressional testimony in February 2026, Lutnick finally admitted to the excursion, claiming he spent only an hour on the island with his wife, their 4 children, and their nannies, despite previously swearing he hadn't spoken to Epstein since 2005. Furthermore, Elon Musk, former head of the Department of Government Efficiency and the wealthiest man on Earth, was also flagged in the documents, with several emails purportedly showing him eagerly requesting invitations from Epstein.
And a top Justice Department official says the review of the Jeffrey Epstein files is over. The same official indicated there would be no new charges. Now the Trump administration is facing backlash from Epstein's survivors and Democrats. This was California Congressman Ro Khanna yesterday.
There is a demand for elite accountability, but the survivors' lawyers that I've talked to have said that the survivors are still upset. They're upset that many of their names accidentally came out without redactions, and they want to make sure the rest of the files come out.
CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane joins us from our Washington bureau with more on this. Scott, you've been sifting through as much of this as you can. What's in this so-called final batch?
It's a process. We're still working through millions of pages here, Errol. And it's worth noting these were released more than 40 days after the legal deadline for the Department of Justice to do so. No one besides Epstein and former associate Ghislaine Maxwell has been charged, but the Department of Justice insisting its work is done has only fueled more controversy.
And that is where the narrative hits a fever pitch. Being merely mentioned in a logbook is one thing, but possessing an undeniable, active connection is another entirely. The true story lies in exposing the corrupt bulletproof system that allowed these monsters to operate with absolute impunity. If you want the latest updates on 50 Cent's explosive documentary, granular breakdowns of the newest file unsealings, and a deep dive into how these elite networks overlap, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Sound off in the comments below. Are these associations just elite social overlap, mere coincidences, or is there a much darker global conspiracy at play?